I come from a political perspective that's very critical of sort of centralization, of bureaucratization, of authoritarian structures and tendencies. So I have a strong critique of a lot of the ways that the thing we call the state operates. And I think we need to be skeptical of the ability of something that operates in the way that at least states as we know them have operated. We need to be skeptical of the ability of those institutions to really adequately generate genuine democracy, to actually adequately operate from the direct demands and needs of the people they claim to serve. That rarely seems to actually play out, even when that's the intention. And so I think we need to ask really critical questions about, is there something about the form of state that we've been creating in the sort of modern era that is actually in great tension with the democracy that these states claim to be promoting? So I start from that place. At the same time, I really, other than in a sort of vague fantasy, I can't at all claim to imagine a world without a state, or at least a world without a state given where we're at right now. To me, it seems naive in many ways to think like that, and so I guess I don't go there. That makes me a bad anarchist, because I'm an anarchist who, if I'm an anarchist at all, I usually don't embrace that term really, but it's certainly the tradition I resonate with most. But I think the state is a crucial thing to be thinking about. So that said, I think it's also important that we actually do to the state a bit of what I've been advocating that we do to capitalism. Because it's easy to do the very same thing with the state that we tend to do with the economy, right? Where we say there's this giant thing called the state, and it's sort of in a given territory that the state claims to have conquered. The state is sort of everywhere. Wherever you're standing, you're sort of inside the state. And then we'll make broad sweeping generalizations about the state is like this, and the state is bad, or the state is good, or what can the state do or not do. Anyone who actually operates in close proximity to the state, the closer you get to it, the less it actually looks like something that holds together in that sort of way. So in some ways, it's really easy to be an anarchist who removes oneself as far as possible from any of the actual workings of the state, and then you can have this monolithic idea of the state. But meanwhile, I find it funny that in Quebec, you can be an anarchist who has a monolithic critique of the state, but yet that same state may be providing you with universal health care, or this program that I heard about where it's possible to, for some period of time, get a wage to start a new community initiative. And, those are examples of things that, coming from where I come from in the US, where healthcare is not at all guaranteed to most people, and where many of the people in my community, including myself, don't have health insurance of any kind. It's a whole different question. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to think about the state in a nuanced way. The state is all kinds of things, some of which are highly problematic and highly oppressive, some of which are actually pretty powerful and impactful in positive ways in people's lives. So it's complicated, and I think it needs to be complicated. We need to approach it in a nuanced way. What's the role of the state in the realm of sort of supporting solidarity economy work? I think that there probably are key roles for the state. There absolutely, part of what the state does is it sets up rules. It helps produce a certain kind of ecology within which certain things become possible and other things become much more difficult. So I think a question that we need to ask is, what kinds of interventions at the level of the state, what kinds of policies, what kinds of flows of money and other resources might be directed towards changing the ecology, changing the habitat within which, our work of cooperation is happening. And I think we can have good, nuanced conversations about that. And I think I don't want to make a generalization about it. It's got to come down to very specific situations and policies. Is a collective fund to support non-capitalist initiatives that's generated by the state, is it a good idea? Maybe. But it really depends on how exactly it's set up, how exactly it's administrated, who exactly is a part of it, what are the structures of accountability, who built it and who it's for, right? And whose various interests are at stake in it, and how's that going to play out? So it's always going to be an ongoing matter of struggle. There's not going to be one like, oh, let's make this policy and then the state's going to help make it all happen and we can just sort of then sit back. The state is always going to be a place where struggle needs to happen. So I'm not at all an expert on the world of policy. And I think I would just say that we need to do a lot of work in that realm. And we need to do a lot of work that rejects both fundamentalist challenges of the state, but also rejects a sort of what I think is also a naive acceptance of the inevitability of a giant bureaucracy in our lives.